Hi everyone! Thanks as always for tuning in to my video blog for polyphonic.org. I'm back in Illinois where, in contrast to my last blog, it's quite cold. For those of you who are being affected by the polar vortex, hope you're keeping warm and safe. This blog is the second part of a discussion on overseeing staff. Just as a matter of review, the basic gist is this: staff members are people too, and as such, they should be respected and cared about. That's not too hard to do. But what happens when a staff member goes, let's say, off track? We all make mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes. I shouldn't admit that. And it's part of my job to try and prevent these from happening as often as possible. When a mistake happens or comes from the library, my first instinct is to ask, well, what could I, as the head librarian, have done to prevent this? Was there a step or detail I forgot to pass along? Was there something that I completely overlooked? Was it something that I had no control over whatsoever? It can be tough. And as with many things involving a group of people, it often comes down to communication and clarity between all of us in the library. Even if things outside of the library aren't necessarily clear, in which case it's up to me to clarify those as much as possible for my staff. It all just comes back to that one basic point. It also involves me having to get over, well, bossing around people that might be older than I am. When I first started here, I had a couple members on staff, and I still do now, who are older than me, and maybe it's just because of the way I was brought up. I was really scared of asking them to do things around the library, but that's what they're here to do, and eventually, if they're offering to do that, well, then I have to say something, right? Or else they have nothing to do. Feedback from my staff is very important to me too, and I'm also often asking them questions in hopes of encouraging clarity and confidence, and in those ways, the work often is better too. It means everyone's thinking about it and trying to figure out how to do it the best we can before we even start. So with all the work that our library handles, there's always a good chance that I'm in danger of overlooking something, whether it's a detail or a more efficient way of completing the task. When staff members get ahead of me, I feel both some pride and some fear, but it is actually an enjoyable moment. Improving on prevention on my end can oftentimes be a case of listening closely. If a staff member doesn't learn from their mistakes after multiple tries, even after, as a very last resort, I might be spelling it out for them entirely, then I may need to start changing the tasks that I assign to them. Everyone processes information differently, and as their manager, I have to be very sensitive of this, or it could be especially difficult to get things done for anyone. I also have to be patient with myself, and especially patient with my staff. In many ways, what I do as a manager is kind of like teaching in many ways. And as I'm not a very good teacher, I can't elaborate on that too much, but I feel like oftentimes it's a matter of encouraging their confidence in what they're doing. While their mistakes do technically fall on my head, I can't consider every mistake as a complete failure on my part, or really nothing would get done. All I can do is apologize and fix it and take note to not create the same mistake again and to move on. It's very important to learn him to move on. I have to try not to hover, but guide and lead and not berate them for mistakes, but instead just show them the ways that they can correct it and how to avoid making these same mistakes again. I think I'm also often guilty of overloading information on them, which then becomes confusing. So that's a major work in progress for me, and hopefully we'll see where that goes. One of the reasons I held an orientation at the beginning of the school year was to try and get us all started on the same page in the library and to share the same principles. Causeway McGregor at the Los Angeles Philharmonic, the head librarian there, she writes in this great essay about how sharing principles is a very important element in a library staff. And so hopefully, as it is in any workplace, my staff, I was trying to get them on the same page as me in terms of my principles of librarianship, and then hoping that that would make them want to contribute to the effectiveness of the workplace by adhering to these principles as well. And in some cases, I mean, I can't force it on them, but just if I let them know where I'm coming from and what I'm aiming for to come out of this library to make our work the best it can be, then, hopefully they'll want to be a part of that and to be a part of that success. Success is a whole other, definition too. That could be another blog. But what I did notice was that this past semester definitely improved the work, the efficiency, and I can honestly say that the library staff really started to feel like a unit. So now I hope that I can make it an even stronger one in the spring. Thanks for tuning in, as always, and see you next time just before the school year begins. It's going to be so much fun. See you then.